It's fun to go back to the Rose Bowl. We've had some great moments out there and some tough times. We've got great respect for UCLA. We were tested the other night, but we'll be tested again. We've got to do better in the first half. We weren't in sync. We didn't have confidence. Their running game will be a lot better than Brigham Young's running game. We're in better position to go on the road right now with a young team than we would have been playing two really easy teams that would have been blowouts. This team so far has given us everything they've got, and hopefully we'll see that again Saturday.
Coming up on Game Plan, Texas goes back to the Rose Bowl for a rematch with UCLA. Find out why both present unfinished business. Plus, how do you disarm the UCLA pistol? What else do we have, Coach?
We'll go inside the game and show you one of the best plays in Texas football history.
It's also time to game plan for UCLA. The Baby Beavos have passed their first two tests of the season, so now time for a little fun. Let's do a field trip with the guys as Texas prepares to go on the road for the first rodeo of the season against UCLA. The Horns, 62-20 away from home since 1999, the best mark in the nation. Welcome to Game Plan, everybody. I'm Lowell Galindo. He is the head coach, Mack Brown. So, Coach, the bag's ready? You guys ready to hit the road?
Well, we are, and it's fun to take a young team on the road. We call it Road Warriors. Some of them haven't flown before, so we give them big brothers. So we actually ask an older guy to make sure he takes the younger guy with him, make sure he's in bed on time, make sure he gets up. A lot of these guys haven't been out of this time zone. So when you start talking about 2 hours earlier, they could show up 2 hours early for the pregame meal. So a lot of things you have to consider, but it'll be fun. We're trying to make this team have fun and understand when it's time to have business, turn it on and go to work.
Well, let's get down to business. You have a position that is perhaps one of the most scrutinized in all of America, and I think you know where I'm going with this one.
I know. It's the punter, and he's done a good job.
Well, I was going to go Justin Tucker. Will he be the starting kicker against UCLA?
He will. He did a good job last week.
Well, then you have the quarterbacks. They're kind of on the back burner after Justin Tucker. You have three of them right now. There was a big hubbub with the depth chart on Monday, seeing the David Ash, Case McCoy listed as co-first strings with Garrett Gilbert behind. Right now, as you get set to go to UCLA, who are what multiple quarterbacks expect to get most of the snaps in this game?
Well, we think that the way our football team is, all three quarterbacks are capable. And we've said that since day one. So we're not going to pin ourselves in a corner on Thursday and sit here and say, this one's going to get this many snaps, this one's going to do this. The other night, it was not what we anticipated going into the game. We had to redo our game plan completely during the ball game because our goal is to do whatever it takes to win. We know we're inexperienced, we know we're young, we know we've got a lot of work to do, and we're not going to do anything except pull every possible straw out of the hat that we can to win football games. So Garrett Gilbert could play Saturday. We're not sure who will start between David or Case. What we've got to do is figure out what play that Brian Harsin, Major Applewhite, and the offensive staff want to start with, and that play would be one that would ensure which quarterback walks out there first.
In the last trip to the Rose Bowl, a great example that every quarterback on your roster has to be prepared to play in that opportunity. You've preached a lot about big plays, getting those explosive plays. To this point, Garrett Gilbert still with two of the biggest, 55, 56 yards to Mike Davis. How do you guys feel as far as confidence with David Ash or Case McCoy stretching the field?
We think all three quarterbacks are capable of doing whatever we need to do. We've said earlier that David's a little bit better runner because he can do that. He's bigger as far as his frame. He's about 225. He can take the hits a little bit better. He's really fast. So he is involved more in the option game than the other two guys. But all three guys can do the same things outside of that. David's got a really good arm. Case showed in the spring game that he could throw the ball deep. He had a ball over the middle that was very accurate to Jackson last week. So we're not concerned in either case. The quarterback touches the ball every time, like the center. The center gives it up fast. The quarterback usually keeps it longer. Our quarterback situation right now is no different than anybody else. We need to help them. And we've got to help them because other guys step up and make plays. And the first way to help your quarterback across the country is be able to run the ball throw some play-action passes, and not ask the quarterback to just win the game by himself.
And no different than UCLA. The next opponent coming up, they're not sure if it's going to be Kevin Prince or Richard Brijo as their starting quarterback for their third game of the season as well. So we get into the storylines coming out of that 17-16 win against BYU. You know us. We like to talk about the quarterbacks. You did see Case McCoy and David Ash coming in, getting significant snaps, really their first big-time experience of their young careers. Only 2 incompletions combined between the two. They led 2 second-half touchdown drives. The freshmen, they are young, but they are factors. Shipley to Ash in the fourth quarter to kill the clock really sums it up. Brown led rushing, Diggs with an interception, all true freshmen. Defense, great, especially in the second half, holding the Cougars to 65 yards. BYU going 3 and out on 4 of their 5 second-half drives. Help the offense, which has struggled a little bit in the early going. Texas has trailed early in 2 straight games, getting outscored in the first half, 19-16. But you always have motivation when you go back to the Rose Bowl. 4th game the Horns will play in the storied grounds in the last 8 years, the house that VY and Mack renovated. That's what we should be calling it after the 05 title. Last season, wasn't Route 66, but it was a rude awakening as UCLA makes themselves at home at DKR with a 34-12 victory against the Horns. First loss of the season for Texas. 6 would follow after that. And you look at the big comparison, you get beat by a team that passed for 27 yards, Coach. I guess the turnovers would be a big reason why.
Well, you also look at the graphic. We had 349 yards to their 291. But usually the team that runs the ball the best, and definitely the team that protects the ball the best, wins the game. Of those 5 turnovers, 4 of them were 40 yards or closer to our goal line. 2 of them were 4 yards or closer. So we gave them the short field. We've got to make sure on Saturday afternoon that field position is a key. We take care of the football. We run the football. We take our deep shots, but we've got to do a great job with our kicking game to maintain the field position that we need.
And these are all points that have been put down on the players that experienced that loss a season ago.
1, the fact that we play in the Rose Bowl, and 2, the fact that we play these guys who beat us last year and beat us at home. I'm definitely looking forward to the chance to play them again and beat them again, obviously.
To put it lightly, that was embarrassing, especially in the second half, what they were able to do to us. For a team to be able to run up the middle on you, that's pretty much saying that either you're not tough enough to stop the run or, you know, they're just too stupid to keep calling plays and you're stopping them, which wasn't the case last year.
I'm not really worried about how we win. I just want to win, and as long as the defense plays well, that's really what I'm looking forward to.
And there are a lot of similarities between those 2 teams that played here in Austin a season ago. Both after that game, 2-6 down the stretch. A lot of changes coming in the offseason. You have your new coordinators. Rick Neuheisel has 2 new coordinators. What did one performance like that mean for the rest of the season that was, by your standards, subpar for Texas?
Well, we did not play consistently well after that. I didn't realize, I got into such a funk last year, I didn't realize till this week that we were 3-0 coming into that ball game. We haven't lost a game at home since 2007 at that time. And we were also number 7 in the country. So we had so many great things. We'd just beaten Texas Tech out in Lubbock. We had Oklahoma coming up the next week. So it was definitely a bad day for the Longhorns, but give Rick Neuheisel and UCLA credit. They came in, they took it to us, they forced the turnovers, and they took advantage of the turnovers after they forced them and led to points.
Do you show guys game tape like this heading into a game, a rematch like UCLA?
They remember it. They've seen it. You're showing it all week, so they'll get it. But what we do is we do not harp on the negative. What we do is talk about how well their offensive line blocked us. And we talk about how well that Franklin and Coleman ran the football because they're back and moving full speed ahead, and they've been doing that to a lot of other people just rather than the Longhorns.
Yeah, as we found out in the first 2 games of the season for UCLA, Jonathan Franklin and Derek Coleman both have had 100-yard performances thus far for the UCLA Bruins. Let's show you what they did in week number 2 against San Jose State, a team that came into the matchup struggling, but UCLA looking for some spark on offense, looking for something to go their way. Got some big running backs. We see Anthony Barr here, all 6'4", 237 pounds of him, rumbling for 10 yards. He says his hero is Ricky Williams, so maybe that's where he gets some of that physicality. And you see it ends with Jonathan Franklin for the touchdown. The Bruins 7-0 with the lead in the first quarter. You go to the second quarter, and this is where the big receivers come into play here. It's Richard Brijo getting the start, and he finds Nelson Rosario for the long 43 yards.
They have the ability to run it. Like we said, therefore play action is key because your defensive backs come up and they can throw it over your head.
You like Joseph Fourier, 6'8"?
I think he's an unbelievable player. Their receivers are tall. They can get open, and they become a mismatch on your smaller defensive backs.
So UCLA leads at the half 14-7. It's now a 4-point lead for the Bruins, and there goes Derek Coleman abusing defenders. Rick Neuheisel even said he saw some players for San Jose State later in the game after they had built up that contact, taking bad angles to avoid that happening to them out on the field.
Well, that definitely used to happen with Ricky Williams. Some guys would pull hamstrings and some guys would slip down, but they didn't want to get in front of Ricky.
Set up a field goal to make it 17-10, but here it's been one of the issues for UCLA, going up the middle, especially being susceptible to the run this season as Brandon Rutley goes 65 yards. Keep in mind, this was a San Jose State team coming in losing 23 of their last 26 games. But the defense comes up at the right time. Tied up at 17. It's Sheldon Price with the INT. UCLA would cap on a field goal, making it 20-17. Then Franklin showing off a different skill set than you see from Derek Coleman.
Yes, he's very quick. He hurt us last year. Coleman did as well. These guys can stay on the field, too. They're averaging about 32-plus minutes per game in time of possession.
The pistol working once again, 2nd and 6. Derek Coleman shedding tackles. You cannot bring him down. He comes in the second half, has 135 yards for the game, all those coming in the second half. Do you like to know you can close games? UCLA looks like they have some confidence that they can close games as well.
No doubt, and they brought an offensive coordinator in from Nevada. They're running the pistol, and like us, they're getting a little bit more comfortable with it each week.
Rick Neuheisel just stressing for a little more energy out there for his guys. Doesn't want them to think quite as much. Just go out and play the game.